Hello everyone, and welcome back to Gina's Food Court. Before we jump into the recipe, I'd like to welcome you all to my new apartment. Since I don't know how to stay in one place, this is my third apartment since graduating college. But I couldn't be more excited because Kyle and I, and Steve of course, moved into Italian Village, which is walking distance from downtown Columbus. I'm finally unpacked and settled into the new kitchen, ready to try out a new recipe. Today we'll be making homemade gnocchi, because what better way to celebrate a move to Italian Village than by making an Italian meal? I'll walk you through how to make it from scratch and give you some options for protein and sauce pairings. Here's what you'll need to make the gnocchi itself, and you can find the full recipe with ingredient amounts in the description below. Feel free to half this recipe if you're not planning on feeding a small village. Start by adding some salt to a pot of water and bringing it to a boil. Once the water's bubbling, add in your potatoes with the skins still on and boil them for about 20 minutes. This should get them soft enough to peel with a spoon. Obviously, let your potatoes cool before you start peeling them. Otherwise, that would just be stupid. Once we get those taters peeled, we're gonna throw them in a bowl and mash them. You can use a potato ricer or a cheese grater or one of these squiggly things. Now we're gonna add in the egg, melted butter, and salt. You can mix these ingredients together with your bare hands. Oh, no, not those bare hands. Just like your regular hand. You really wanna make sure all the ingredients get incorporated so there are no chunks of potato stuck together. Go ahead and dump the mixture onto a floured surface and start slowly incorporating the flour, kneading the dough as you go. Okay, I'm gonna put a little disclaimer here. I made the gnocchi wrong. Now I know what you're thinking. Gina, what are you talking about? You're literally amazing at everything and the best cook I know. Unfortunately, I didn't do enough research on the common mistakes when making gnocchi, and I accidentally over-incorporated the egg. I'm gonna get a little more into what exactly that means later on in the video, along with how to fix it, but just make sure you watch the entire video before you make the gnocchi. Once your dough is flexible and cohesive, put it in a bowl and cover it with plastic wrap. We're gonna let that baby sit for 20 minutes. While we wait, let me give you one of my infamous apartment tours. You may remember the tour I gave of my first apartment, where I impersonated each member of my family. And although they did have a lot to say about this new place, I'll be giving this tour from the perspective of my 6'6" boyfriend, Kyle. Be safe up there, you guys. All right, we start by coming in through the front door. Oh geez, I forgot I have to duck. So this is the living room. That's my desk, the couch, coffee table. This is the third rug we had delivered to the apartment because Gina didn't like the first two, but we kept this one because it's much more, good. Gina keeps her stuff on these shelves, mostly books and fake plants and stuff. My stuff's over here. We got my favorite picture front and center. Ben Grimaldi, love that guy. Let's see, mini fridge is over here. I did the math and we can fit 48 cans of Miller Lite in here, which is sweet. If we keep going this way, you get to the balcony, which is pretty cool. There we go. My mom gave us that fake plant and we neglected it until its untimely death. Yeah, that is not doing well. All right, let's see, what else? The rest of the living room. Here we've got the kitchen, obviously. All the standard appliances and stuff. We've got a little coffee bar over here. Gina tried to hang a shelf on this wall and ripped off the drywall. But yeah, she doesn't really like to talk about it. Something about engineering pride. I don't know. Here's that. Golly, stupid door frame. But yeah, this is the bathroom. It leads into the closet. I'm gonna duck under that. But yeah, the closet's pretty spacious. Here we have a section for Gina's shoes and dresses and stuff. This rack for her blouses, I guess. This shelf over here is hers as well. I get the second half of this bottom shelf down here. So yeah, plenty of space here. And then this wraps back around to our bedroom. Steve, what are you? I am so sorry you guys had to see that. But yeah, thanks for checking out the crib. Please don't figure out where we live from this video, because that would be weird. All right. Oh, jeez. And we are just about out of time. Now that your dough is nice and rested from its nap, it's time to turn it out onto the working surface. This is about the point in the process that I realized I done messed up. When I was kneading the dough earlier, I added about 1.5 times the amount of flour that the recipe called for, but my dough was still extremely sticky. This is because I over-incorporated the egg. At this point in the process, you're supposed to divide your dough into 4 equal sections, then roll each one into a rope that's roughly 1/2 inch in diameter. Then cut the rope into 1/4 inch pieces. At this point in the process, the dough should be the consistency of pasta dough, but in my case, everything was just sticking together and falling apart. If you're experiencing the same issue, here's a list of reasons why this might have happened and what you could have done to prevent it. You see, this list makes a lot of sense because I did not add the flour gradually or use a sifter, I did not bake the potatoes, and I did not opt for ricotta-based gnocchi. Now, if you're watching this video a little too late and you already made these mistakes like I did, most online sources will tell you to completely start over. But here at Gina's Food Court, we don't like wasting potatoes or time, and we are not quitters. So we're gonna get a little creative and salvage this dough. I went ahead and cut the gnocchi into chunks big enough to roll into balls and coat in flour. This will hopefully prevent them from sticking together. Keep in mind, if you didn't over-incorporate your egg and your dough is the correct consistency, you can skip this part and cut the gnocchi into the typical size without adding more flour. Now we're gonna imprint the gnocchi with little ridges using a fork. At this point, I realized that my gnocchi were about 5 times the size of typical gnocchi, so I went ahead and cut them in half. At this point in the video, I had already spent way longer on this recipe than I originally anticipated. I had some evening plans, so I decided to step away and finish this recipe in a couple of hours. In case anyone else is struggling to quiet the noise of their pounding headache, I'm going to throw you a quick bonus recipe. I like to call it the S'mores Hangover No Mores Latte. I just made that up. Here's what you'll need. Start by grabbing the cutest cup in your pantry and line the sides with chocolate sauce, because I never said this was healthy. Now we're going to mix together your favorite milk with a little bit of flavoring. This is hands down the best coffee syrup you will ever buy, the Torani sugar-free s'more syrup. It will quickly become your go-to. Pour that over some ice and start brewing your espresso. Once you add in 1 shot of espresso, you probably think we're done, but we're not. We're gonna make some cold foam. In a separate cup, we're gonna mix together some milk, heavy cream, vanilla, and brown sugar. Froth that mixture up for about 30 seconds. I definitely over-whipped mine because it came out a little too thick. But that's just what I do, right? Over-incorporate dairy products. You're probably thinking, but Gina, why did we make 2 shots of espresso if you only need 1 for the latte? And that's because we're gonna do the other one like a shot and use the latte as a chaser. It's called adulting. All right, no more screwing around. It's time to finish these gnocchi once and for all. Mine got super sticky again overnight, so I'm rolling them in flour and pressing them with the fork one more time. Now they're finally ready to boil. Once your water starts bubbling, you'll only need to cook the gnocchi for about 3 minutes or until they start floating to the top of the water. It might be best to divide your gnocchi into 2 batches. You don't want them getting too crowded in the pot and sticking together. Once both batches are finished cooking, we need to find something to coat the gnocchi. I'll be showing you 3 super simple sauces, and you can feel free to spruce them up a bit with protein of your choice. We'll start by making a tomato basil sauce. We're gonna heat up some olive oil and fry a crushed clove of garlic for about 1 minute. Then we'll add in the chopped tomatoes, 1 crushed bouillon cube, and dried basil. Let all of that simmer until it's completely incorporated and your kitchen starts to smell like an Italian bistro. Feel free to make this dish a bit more hearty by adding in some seasoned ground beef. Now it's ready to mix in your gnocchi, top with fresh mozzarella, a couple of basil sprigs, and enjoy. The next sauce on our list is a classic pesto. We're gonna make the pesto from scratch, but don't worry because it is so quick and easy, your pesto will truly be the besto. Start by roughly chopping up your fresh basil and add it to an immersion blender along with the Parmesan cheese, pine nuts, garlic, olive oil, salt, and pepper. Go ahead and blend up that mixture until it's completely smooth. Now it's ready to pour over your gnocchi. I think this sauce pairs great with some tender chicken. Once you top with Parmesan cheese, this dish is done and ready to eat. It's time for our third and final pairing, a creamy Parmesan sage sauce. Simply add your cream and Parmesan to a small pan and bring to a boil. Let the mixture simmer and reduce for about 5 minutes or until it's thick enough to coat a spoon. Go ahead and add in some salt and pepper to taste. I think this sauce goes great with some crumbled sausage, but feel free to leave it vegetarian if you'd prefer. Mix in your gnocchi and garnish with fresh sage, and you are done. Thank you all so much for watching. If you haven't yet, give this video a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and turn on notifications so you never miss a recipe. Let me know in the comments if you gave this recipe a try and whether or not you burned yourself as many times as I did. Happy cooking, and I'll see you next time on Gina's Food Court.